I am slow at making games, like really slow. Up until this point, the fastest I've been able to make a game in is in 2 whole months. So to improve my speed, I decided to willingly deprive myself of sleep and entered my very first game jam, the 48-hour mini jam, which just so happened to start at the ideal time of 4 fucking AM. And instead of going to bed early to, prepare like any sane person would, I just played Zelda until the jam started.
Is this nigga serious?
So with only a single hour of sleep to my name, and being slightly late, the theme for the jam had already been announced, which was one ability. But that's not all, because apparently I have to include a random ass special object into my game as well, which so happened to be card this time around. So after thinking for approximately 20 seconds, I had it, Minato. I decided to make Minato. And for any of you uncultured swines out there, Minato is a character from Naruto, and he has this move called the Flying Raiju, where he throws out a kunai that he can then teleport to at any time, including midair. And if we just replicate this in game and trade out the kunai for a card instead, and say the player is a wizard or something, that's both the one ability and the special object accounted for, and the bare bones for a seemingly fun prototype. Probably not the greatest idea, but it was 4 AM and that's all I could come up with. And with my idea settled, sanity already slipping away, and 47 hours left to go, I got to work. First, I whipped up a crappy little background and added a little wizard guy I created as the player.
Okay.
Then I built out the card throw ability. To actually control the throw, I wanted it to be similar to Angry Birds. So on click, we start to draw an angle opposite to the mouse position. Then, to determine how hard or far to throw the card, we just check to see how far the player dragged the mouse from its original position. Store the output, and then multiply the throw strength by that factor. Also, I had to cap the card's max velocity to something reasonable, so the player can't just spam cards at the speed of light. Now all that's left is to let the player teleport to the card at will, which is as simple as calculating the card's position on click. Except it's not, because I still need to tell the camera to prioritize following the card over the wizard and disable the wizard whenever the card is active. And now it's complete.
Nice.
With the main ability out of the way, I took my first break, got some food, and a little bit of sleep. Next, I had to actually give the player something to do. So what I did was gave the player a bar that constantly depletes, and you do not want this bar to reach 0.
Tiger.
Or else. And the only way to reveal this is by destroying these floating boulder things I added to the game. Next, I just need to set up a spawner to randomly spawn these boulders around the player, which I started doing, but I got sleepy, and since it was already pretty late, I decided to just call it a day. Yeah, so I sorta overslept. I mean, I set my alarm, but somehow I didn't end up waking up until noon the next day, causing me to really lose a lot of time. However, I didn't actually have that much left to do. All I needed to do was finish the obstacle spawner, add enough obstacles to make the game feel fleshed out, and then polish. Finishing the spawner was tricky and it took me quite a while to figure out, but eventually I got it. Basically, how it works is by drawing an invisible box around the player's position full of randomly placed objects. And if the player begins to exit this invisible box, we just spawn a new box full of objects. And finally, we just destroy any object if it gets too far from the camera. The spawner handles some other stuff too, like making sure not to spawn objects within the player's current view. But for the sake of keeping this video short, we're not gonna get into all that. And with the core game loop finished, I got some more food and took my final break to prepare to pull an all-nighter just to finish the game in time. I ended up adding 2 more obstacle types to the game. Well, 3 technically. One is a turret that bounces the player in a random direction if hit and shoots projectiles. And the other is a variant of the boulder, but this one is indestructible, and if you hit it, you die, no matter what. After adding both the new obstacles to the spawner, I decided to add some slowdown to pull everything together and lower the overall difficulty. This one change alone made my game feel so much better. By this point the game was nearly complete. All that was left to do was polish and add some minor details like sound effects And hell, I even added some background music I stole and a scoring system for good measure. And finally, I speedran creating the itch.io page and definitely varied the name of the game on purpose. Totally not because I was sleep deprived and forgot how to spell Raijin. And with 22 minutes left on the clock, I submitted my game. Fast forward a few days later, and the results were in, and I ended up finishing number 45 out of 161 contestants, which certainly isn't too bad for my first try, I don't think. Actually, I didn't think I would make it at all. Regardless, I'm more than satisfied with how the game came out and had an absolute blast making it. If you're interested in playing the game for yourself, you can find it in the link in the description below. And if you made it this far into the video, thanks for watching. Consider subscribing. Peace out. I'm gonna go get some sleep now.